A very good morning once again, and you are still watching Sunrise at Sea here on CTV. Welcome to Twitter Jabs 2. My name is Agi Owase, and we are continuing the conversation on road and traffic safety in this country. And this comes in light after on 3rd of May 2022, which was on Wednesday this week, 2 tragic accidents happened in this country. One along Fort Portal Kenjoja Road and another one on Umbale Tirini Road, which claimed multiple lives of Ugandans and also caused a lot of mixed reactions in people and on social media as well. Joining me at the center of this conversation is Rogers Kawuma Nsereko, and that is the Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Commander, as well as Christopher Benanda, a journalist and road safety researcher, to give us more insight and deliberate on this particular matter. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise at Sea
You're
this
welcome.
morning. Well, we're seeing that 27 people perished in road accidents this week, 2 road accidents this week. And I'd like to ask you the question, what does this say about Ugandans and the road discipline and caution when it comes to the road traffic and safety rules?
First of all, I wish to send my condolences to the families that were affected, who lost their beloved ones in these accidents. It is really absurd. And the most bitter part of it is that most of these accidents are actually very, very avoidable. If we took just a little steps, a little thing like this, the nitty-gritties of safety. But unfortunately, we are continuing to see a lot of accidents. You can imagine in just a few days, in a week, you hear that 300 people were involved in an accident in 1 week.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, most of them won't die, but just having 300 people involved in accidents in a week is just unacceptable. Yeah? So, what do I say about the discipline of a Ugandan driver? Well, I must say it is wanting, because if you see how Ugandans drive, you just know that we are at the mercy of God most times. And for the link bus drivers, indeed, there are complaints. There have been complaints that some of them are reckless. Even when they beckon them to drive in safe speeds, they won't allow. They will use all foul language on you. But that said, at the end of the day, it is your life, the passenger, especially those people who use public service vehicles, that will be affected. So what do we do? It is upon you. Safety is for you first. Before even police comes in, fight for yourself to see that you are safe in a public transport vehicle.
Yes.
What do you do? Because if now you talk to the driver to slow down and they refuse, what do you do? We have contacts, toll-free numbers you can use to call and inform us that, you know what, I'm aboard such and such a bus, I'm at such and such a point, I'm heading this direction, and this guy is driving us recklessly. Please do something. We have communication gadgets, so it's very easy to communicate ahead that please intercept this, and we do it, by the way, all the time. For those people who care for themselves much, they call these numbers and we intercept these buses and we take action against them. But that said, again, you know, there are so many factors that contribute to accidents, especially for buses and trailers. There's an issue that is not usually focused on, and that's the issue of fatigue. The bus could have been in a very good mechanical condition, and then the driver might have been drowsy. Unfortunately, he died. We cannot get that fact.
Yes.
But most long route buses and trucks, that is a major factor that affects those trailers you see that roll on the roads in Mabira and elsewhere, and buses are factors of fatigue. People make routes and they're not supposed to come back on the same day, but still they will want to come back to the city when they're tired.
Yes.
You get my point. So at the end of that day, they will doze while they're driving. Because in that accident, there was no a second vehicle.
Yes.
There was no an oncoming vehicle. It was an own accident. The road is nicely done. Yes, it is a corner, but I don't think that was the first time that driver was using that road. Because if it was the first time, maybe you can say maybe he didn't know that the corner was there, but no, that wasn't the case. He's driven there before. It wasn't his first time. So if it wasn't fatigue, then it could have been something else. And the investigations are still ongoing to determine what caused that accident.
Okay. And how about you, Mr. Christopher? As a journalist, road safety journalist and researcher, what is your take on this particular matter when it comes to the road accidents that happened on the 3rd of May?
Okay, like my colleague, Mr. Nsereko, let me add my voice to send my condolences to the bereaved families, not only those ones for yesterday's accident, but the many Ugandans who have died over the years. On average, we lose about between 2,500 to 3,000 people every year, and this is according to the Uganda police reports. And the way I see road safety, if you are going to handle road safety, you must, it's a broad issue. You can't handle it by only with police. You have to include Minister of Health, you have to include Minister of Works, and as he said, road safety starts with you, an individual. You as an individual, what are you doing? If you are in this speeding bus, as he said, if there are toll-free numbers, you have an obligation, whether you have an incident where action was not taken, but I think we have an obligation. You can call the police, you can call an elder. So, and the way I see, we have to stop being reactive and be active. Let's do the needful before the accidents happen. Have we done awareness? Because when you look at the reports, there are even careless pedestrians, people who don't know how to cross roads. So before we become reactive, because an accident has happened, now Parliament is there, everyone is there. What are we doing in creating awareness to educate the ordinary wananchi? What is his obligation? The children, do we have programs to handle children in schools? Do we have we tried to engage the religious leaders, people maybe in the church, if they told people who are going to church or in a mosque that you as a citizen, you also have an obligation. How do you cross the road? What are you teaching your children on road safety? So the way I see here is we should be more active, not reactive. Because it's better to handle road safety before rather than reacting. Because, as you said, some of these accidents are avoidable. Yes, please.
Okay, and to you, Mr. Nsereko, being the Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Commander, I'd like to ask you, what are the most causes of road accidents in Uganda?
Well, there are quite a number. We have, first of all, it is human error, majorly. That's the most absurd part. Human error, things that you would have avoided. Phone usage when you are driving, distracted driving. I mean, you can be driving and then you want to increase the volume of the radio and then you put your mind on the knob to increase the volume, only to realize that you're about to cause an accident. Then there is environmental issues. Either the weather can be, maybe, let me say, an incident when you have a fog on the highway and it is foggy, you can't see clearly ahead. There's a time we got an accident along Masaka Road and it was a bit foggy. You can imagine at the scene of accident, traffic responded. And while they were still clearing the scene, because of the fog, another vehicle came and knocked our traffic officer dead. because the visibility was poor. So those conditions are also there. Then we have road design. You have heard of places which are labeled black spots. Yeah, so there are some road design issues that usually create these spaces where you see that most times there are accidents that happen at such a point. So those issues are there. And then we have mechanical condition of the vehicle. The vehicle can be in a dangerous mechanical condition. And the also sad part is that people usually insist on driving vehicles when they know that this vehicle has this defect.
Yes.
Maybe the brake is not working well, but then they insist on driving, yeah, and then because they know how to. But someday you are going to step on that brake and it won't be stepping anymore. Yeah, it won't be braking anymore. So don't insist on driving a vehicle that you know that has some kind of fault on it. You actually, before you leave even your home, you are supposed to check the status of your vehicle. Does it have enough water, coolant? Does it have, are the lights working well? Is it braking well? Before you start using it. Are the wipers working well? Because it can start raining when you're driving, and because of that rain, your visibility will be impaired. You get my point?
Yes.
So you have to ensure that it is in a good mechanical condition. That's why we also carry out operations to see the roadworthiness of the vehicle. We get our ILVs to inspect them, and then they determine whether the vehicle is in a good mechanical condition or not. So all these factors contribute to road traffic accidents. Then the speed, again, it is human, because it is you who's controlling the vehicle.
Yes.
Why do you drive very fast?
Yes.
Then there are people who don't know how to interpret, again, human error. They don't know how to interpret the road signs and signals. Yeah. So all these affect and contribute to road traffic crashes.
Okay, as you're weighing in and you talked about speed, and while investigations are still ongoing, there's information that the road accident that happened along that involved Link bus from Fort Portal on Kampala Road, it was due to human error and speed, overspeeding in that regard. So I'd like to ask you, do you think that speed governors should be reinstated as it was in 2010?
I would advocate for that, for speed governors to be reinstated, because as I was growing up, there was that drive of having speed governors in vehicles.
Yes.
and seat belts and whatever. So along the way, I don't know where it died, because as I grew up, it was no longer, being enforced.
Yes.
But it would have been a very good idea. But there's a lot that comes into play in trying to enforce these things. You will hear groups saying, oh, these people now are benefiting from this project, and so has imported this, now he wants us to do this. Yet actually, it is your life at the end of the day that we are trying to protect.
Yes.
And most of us, we are not liked a lot on the roads because of what we do.
For obvious reasons.
For
yes.
obvious reasons, but we shall force you to be alive.
Yeah.
Because Uganda will need you alive. Yes.
Maybe I can add on. A few weeks ago, Dr. Ian Clark, who's a columnist with New Vision, wrote about link buses, by the way. I don't
Absolutely,
know.
I saw that.
He wrote
Yes.
something and said, do they want to kill me?
I
Because
saw
I
that.
think he drives a small K Prado, but he wrote and said, do they want to kill me? I don't think they know me.
I saw that
So there was already a warning that the way these people are driving is not good. But a few points on what I think are
speed governance.
the major causes of accidents in Uganda, I think. I recently did a 4-part series on road safety for the New Vision, and I talked to Mr. Chibuka Karim, I think a vehicle inspector, senior vehicle inspector at the Ministry of Works, and he told me himself that of the about 1.5 million vehicles we have in Uganda, and these ones are the 4-tire vehicle, I think, and then the 2-wheelers, the borders, I think they are all graded together.
Yes.
The 1.5 vehicles in the country, only 100,000 were tested for roadworthiness by the Minister of Works, I think, or working with the police.
Sure.
So you can imagine less than 10% of the vehicles were tested for their stability, for their on the road. So I think that one is a very serious area that is lacking, where I think government should put more effort. And there was already a company, SGAS, which had been contracted by government to do the vehicle inspection. I think if there are those with power listening, I think really this is an area that if it's not the company, then the obligation should go back to government to have vehicles inspected, so that at least we only have vehicles that are worthy to be on the road.
Yes. I'd like to ask you, Mr. Nsereko, talking about enforcement of traffic rules and regulations. What happened to the proposal that, traffic officers should be assigned to bus services or bus companies?
Actually, for long distance, there was that proposal of having police officers deployed on buses was because of the insecurity that was on the highways mostly. Those buses used to be waylaid. They would find, people who had created some roadblock, and then they would, rob passengers of their property, phones, money. So that's why they started deployment of police officers on buses. So that was majorly the cause. It wasn't because of accidents. Yes.
But don't you think that in the long run, if there's a police officer on bus, that they will regulate, when it comes to the driver probably overspeeding or any other issues? Don't you think that they would weigh in and control in some way or
moderator,
another?
that would be a very funny scenario, because how can we police you all the time? Safety begins with you. We can't be everywhere. We cannot. You can imagine if each and every bus that would ply on the road would have a traffic police office. How many buses ply the whole of this country?
How would we be reliable that police person has not been compromised?
Absolutely.
You have heard about
there is that too.
And you also know
that,
that actually people behave when they see traffic officer ahead. Then they will tend to be so disciplined, keeping their lane. Once they pass the police officer, you know what happens next? They will speed, they will overlap, they will overtake at non-overtaking places. All that kind of indiscipline will jump once they pass a police officer. But at the end of that day, as I said earlier, it is your life. It is not the police officer's life. Yeah.
As we take on this issue seriously, I'd like to still ask you, do you think that the inspection of vehicles is, by traffic officers or by police officers has been done up to the standard that it's expected,
Yes, I want to tell you that the inspectors of vehicles we have are experts. They're engineers, actually. And they determine that a vehicle is in a good mechanical condition or not. Actually, it is not always that because a vehicle looks ramshackled and therefore it is in a dangerous mechanical condition. It can be super new, but when it has defects, you get my point. I've heard of companies recalling vehicles that usually get on the road and then they bust the tires, yet the tires are new. They bust the tires and then they roll the passengers there within. So all those are determined by our inspectors of vehicles, and they actually do this work on behalf of the Ministry of Works and Transport. Yeah. So they are experts. They're experts. So don't doubt their judgment. Yes.
How about you, Mr. Christopher? Weigh in on this particular
The issue of vehicle inspection is one of my main areas of interest. And when you look at vehicle inspection, for example, in Europe, they emphasize more to do the vehicle inspection on the source, where the vehicle is coming from, rather than, and I think the Ugandan government with Uganda National Bureau of Standards is trying to do something. I don't know whether Mr. Nsereko, but the main emphasis should, if the vehicles are coming from Japan, for example, much of our vehicles are second-hand vehicles. And as he said, if brand new vehicles can have challenges, what do you think before somebody in Japan disposes of his vehicle, or what do you think the second-hand vehicles are? Because if a new Prado can have issues with its braking system, because vehicles have been recalled, as he said, by Volkswagen and Toyota. If brand new vehicles that have passed the company's inspections can have challenges, what about Uganda, which imports 90% of its vehicles as second-hand? So I don't know well if we have enough capacity to do vehicle inspection. But as I said, of the 1.5 million vehicles we have in the country last year, because I talked to an inspector at Ministry of Works, only 100,000 vehicles were tested. And I think these are mainly buses or the small vehicles. So I think my view is that the vehicle inspection is still wanting, and we need more effort in it. Because it's core for road safety. I've been in the vehicles where I've seen challenges, and one time I had the taxi drivers telling their colleagues at the Namungona stage in Uganda, now we've got Kateriko Kubantu. These learners, but the man was trying to kill us. He was in the ditch, and we begged him, Sebo, you stop, we pay you. And the man was saying, no, I'm not stopping, I'm taking you. I think on the assumption, thinking that once we get out of the vehicle, we are not going to pay them. So I think the issue of vehicle inspection should be really highly emphasized.
Revised.
Yes. More money, more effort, more training, more support to police.
Yes.
If it's money, because fatalities from road safety, if people don't know, are the fourth leading cause of death in Uganda, and they kill mainly the youth, the most productive group.
Okay, now we've seen in the recent past the Ministry of Works and Transport have proposed that speed limit to lower the speed limit of driving in urban areas from 50 kilometers per hour to 30 kilometers per hour, and that is in a bid to reduce road accidents. How or what's your take on this particular matter?
Yes, actually that is a UN decade of action to reduce road traffic crashes.
Yes.
And it is running. It started in 2021. It's going to run up to 2030. And it is a worldwide drive to reduce road traffic crashes. And you know, 50 kilometers was the prescribed speed limit in built-up areas, but they realized that maybe if we went a bit lower, the impact would be, you know, if the car is speeding and it knocks, the impact is great. It is greater when the car is faster, and lower when the car is slower. So it is a drive to reduce, but unfortunately people are misquoting it. They think it is speed limit for everywhere. It is speed limit for built-up areas, in urban areas.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you knock someone at 30, it is less likely that you are going to kill them. You might maybe injure them, but it is less likely that they will die. Unlike when you are driving at 50 kilometers per hour. So it is a drive, and I'm calling upon you Ugandans, please really let's adapt to this new regulation in order to avoid road crashes and killing our people.
Well, while we are talking on you know, the proposed speed limit in urban areas, some motorists and in particular taxi drivers have come to oppose this proposal, saying that it will only cause a lot of traffic jam, especially in Kampala city. So how best can you advise them, you know,
actually,
to embrace
I've heard some say that it is already less than even 30 kilometers because of the jam in the city.
Yes.
So there's no need to enforce. Can you imagine? But it's not always that it is always jammed up in the city. Sometimes the roads are a bit free, and you can drive a bit faster. But the drive is that we should maintain 30 kilometers per hour in the city center. And if we determine and we measure your speed in the city, and we see that you are making over 30, then a ticket will be in for you. Yes.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Christopher, to weigh in on this particular matter. How effective do you think that this proposal will be, especially in Uganda and in Kampala in particular?
I think I strongly agree with Mr. Nsereko. The lesser the speed, the lesser the impact on the victim. But apart from reducing speed, if we are to reduce fatalities in urban areas, I think the police must enforce the separation of lanes. If a lane or a section has been created for the pedestrians, let not the borders then start disturbing the pedestrians where they're supposed to be walking. And let also not the taxi drivers ride on the shoulders of the road. Where I stay in Namugongo, while other people respect the one lane, the road is narrow, which is a challenge, but other drivers are following the line. For them, the taxi drivers, they don't follow the line, they are riding on the shoulders. And this one, really, you see that it's one of the factors that cause accidents. So apart from reducing speed, I think lanes should be respected. If lanes have been created for pedestrians, let them be for pedestrians. Let the motorized people remain on the road.
Yes, and earlier you talked about being active rather than reactive, and we've seen the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and that is Thomas Tayebwa, who directed the Minister of Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, to launch a probe into and investigate the accident that happened on Fort Portal Kampala Road. How do you think, or what advice would you give, could be the government, could be the Ministry of Works and Transport, to see that road safety is actually effective on the road, and in a sense of not being reactive but active, just like you mentioned?
I think government has to make it a priority. It must, you see governments across the world made COVID a priority. It must be at the top of policy making. It must be a government initiative, and involving all the macro sector sections, health, local government, KCCA, bring them together, discuss, and I think we need a creation of something like an autonomous body, but with real power. The way we see something like Uganda Revenue Authority, create an authority, give it power, so that it makes road safety a priority. Until we put it at the top of priorities, we have had other serious accidents along Mabira Road, along the Masaka Road, and we have Fika Salama. We have something reactive for a few months, and then after that, it's the end. So let's have something like a biting authority. And as a journalist, I do solution journalism. I like copying successful models of activities in other countries. We can look at countries like Sweden, countries like Japan. Japan, a country of 130 million people, have 80 million vehicles. 80 million vehicles. But you can find, like, in a whole year, they have fatalities of only 4,000. So why? We need to copy. I don't know why we Africans, we don't copy. Even when we send people to the US, to China, to do what?
Or when we copy, it's actually not sustainable.
Well, we are copying funny things. These are things, why we send people to copy. What are these Japanese? They have 100 more times than the vehicles we have. But why is it that the accident rates are so low? Why don't we send people there to copy? And there are simple things. For example, Mr. Nsereko, why don't we copy? There's something they call a biometric system, a system where a driving permit is linked to points. If you make a mistake, like a driving permit has 10 points. If you make a mistake, the cameras get you speeding, it deducts 1 point.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Yes.
We are soon introducing that. It is in the pipeline, and the ministry is designing it, Ministry of Works, and it's going to start working. I don't know when, but it is in the pipeline, that you should know. The merit system.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that is a promise to Ugandans. We'll be looking out for
Oh,
that.
yes.
But moving forward, I'd like to ask you, so many Ugandans have come out to blame UNRWA and also blame the rampant road accidents on small roads as well as lack of signposts on the road. What is your take on this?
I wish to differ. Yes, the roads might be small, but if you are furnished with that information that the road is small, what do? Won't you be more careful when you come to that point of the road where it is narrow, where it is slippery when it rains? Won't you be if you have that information with you, do you just ride or road drive carelessly at that point? Yes, the road is narrow. Be more careful at that point and drive slowly at that point and sail through safely. Don't just go, oh, the road is narrow. Then what are you doing? Have informed judgment. Let's stop this finger pointing. It all goes back to your discipline as the driver. Because we've had at some points, well, it is true though, that some points, two big vehicles cannot cross each other comfortably.
Yes.
Either one has to step a bit on the grass so that this one passes, but if you insist for both of them to crisscross each other, they might actually scratch or knock each other. So if you are furnished with this information, why do you insist on speeding and crossing each other at such a point? Be patient, let the other person cross, and then you go safely. So yes, we might have these challenges, narrow roads, slippery roads when it rains,
signposts,
potholes, no signposts. Yes, but you be more careful when you are using your vehicle. Be considerate to yourself and to others. Then you will be safe. And then secondly, yes, we might not have signposts, but most signposts are there. And people are not interpreting them. They're not respecting them. The road talks to you. That you know what, there is a sharp corner ahead of you. Slow down. What happens? People rush. So listen to what the road is saying, and you will be able to sail through safely.
But then again, I'd like, well, yes, the pedestrians and the road users can do their part, but also don't you think that UNRWA should actually step in and do their part in ensuring road safety, in ensuring the signposts are in place, in ensuring expansion of the roads, so that at the end of the day, the blame is not on
Then I wish also to state
the scene of accident, it follows to the hospital, it follows to the home. So you can find that the Uganda police has an annual fatality rate of 3,000, but when you go to the World Health Organization, it is 15,000. So let's support some of these new initiatives. Let's support the police. Don't be stubborn. You as an individual, if you know that your vehicle is in a bad mechanical condition, don't drive it. And we as journalists and let's give our small suggestion. Let's highlight some of the successes we have seen in other countries so that they can be adopted.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Nsereko, would like you to give us your final remarks.
Yes, fellow Ugandans, I first of all want to thank you for this opportunity you've given me to talk to the public. And I'm calling upon fellow Ugandans and also inform you that safe speeds save lives. Please ensure that you drive in safe speeds. By doing that, you will save yourself, you will save the public from road carnage. And also ensure that you keep alive. Most times, take care of yourself, take care of all other people on the road, because you are equally important and they are equally important. I thank you.
Well, there you have it, and they're saying make it or take it as an individual social responsibility, as well as, you know, while the government is doing their part, while UNRWA is doing their part, while police is doing their part, also do your part as a citizen in this country. And that has been Mr. Rogers Kawuma Nsereko, and that is the Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Commander, and Mr. Christopher Benanda, a journalist and road safety researcher. And that winds up the conversation that we had for you here on our Twitter Jabs. To keep watching Sunrise at Sea, and don't blink.